All right, we're here for our third match of the night. This is our last feature match for March of Machine League, week 6, and we got an elimination match here for Wesley, a new player to our league who is at 10 losses. You see him taking a mulligan, unfortunately. He's facing Miranda on the other side there, who's on quite a tear. She's won 7 of her last 8 matches, and her only blemish, her only loss in that streak was against Wesley last week. So she wants a little bit of revenge here. What's her hand looking like over there?
Well, I know that how much you love like a good solid 2-color deck, and so we've got 3 islands, we've got a plains. There's the 3 mana make 2 fish card from SNC, as well as a negate and a sigiled sentinel. So nothing over the top powerful, but just some solid stuff. I'm expecting only 2 colors from Miranda, and a lot of consistency with some good tempo swings out of this deck.
She had about an hour and a half match earlier, just before the first feature match around 5 o'clock. So we got to see basically everything her deck's capable of, which is a lot. She's got an Elish Norn, the new one, Boonbringer Valkyrie. She was doing a C double loop with the Halo Charge Scab, just casting.
She got me with that earlier in this league. Yeah, she did, absolutely.
She's capable of quite a lot here, but we see Wesley off to a decent start, I suppose. Looks like he's been to Brothers War here with the Falaji Archaeologist. Looks like he's blue-black, which again has been a popular color combo.
Yeah, so really tough to get away from a lot of the power that Mom brings in blue-black.
So he has a Xerix Strobe Knight, pretty premium card here. So in his hand he has Traumatic Revelation, which is visible because it got taken by the Archaeologist. Negate and Deadly Derision. So he's a land away from the Deadly Derision, but he can negate something and Traumatic Revelation in the meantime. So let's see what Maranda decides to do with her turn here.
Yeah, she's drawn a couple of lands, and then now has picked up a Stasis Field. So we're sitting on a total of 6 lands, including the stuff that's on the battlefield. So she's gonna need some more gas to actually continue on with the game here, but enough interaction, enough card draw, or enough creatures to probably stabilize would be my guess. She's eyeing up, either holding up the negate and then hovering over the fish. So we might see that as an option. Knowing the Traumatic Revelations in hand, also pretty optimal to play out the Sigiled Sentinel if she wants 3/3s on both sides of the battlefield.
Yeah, so like I said, Wesley doesn't have any removal to speak of here, aside from the Deadly Derision, but he's still a land away from that. But he's got a little threat here with the Xerox Strobe Knight. Obviously, the Sentinel's going to be annoying here. He's drawn Unsealed and Necropolis, so not of use just yet. That is a card that does get quite good later. He's going to take a look at the hand here and see what she's working with. And he's going to see nothing at all to take. So
yeah, so I think obviously by knowing that Traumatic Revelation came from off the top of the deck, that gives Miranda the opportunity to... Yeah, that gives Miranda the opportunity to cast a creature. Now, there certainly is something to be said about not casting the creature, because then that means that you're not facing down a 3/3 on your opponent's side of the battlefield. But, there's certainly something reasonable to do in really either case.
Yeah, so Wesley got a 3/3 and some information, which I'd say is worth 2 mana.
Oh, absolutely. I think the idea that like most of those 2 mana discard spells can brick, like Despise has been a traditionally pretty poor card, even though a lot of people run a lot of creatures. If it misses, you don't want to be there at all. Like that's not where you want to be. But having this backup of a 2 mana discard spell that's sometimes into a 2 mana 3/3, I mean, that's great. That's exactly where you want to be.
I mean, taking a battle with it is also pretty nice. The fact that it can grab a battle out of the hand. So the Exotic Pets, I believe, has text about it can, one of the tokens can receive a counter of the same type of you have already.
You count up all the different kinds of counters that you have on the.
Okay.
If there was a flying counter from a courier or something like that, and then you can distribute each of those counters amongst your fish.
Okay. Yeah, and in Capenna it was +1 counters and most memorably shield counters as well.
Of course.
But yeah, neat little card.
And I think based on my experience with playing against Miranda, it was a pretty standard sort of play pattern for her in, I think, like 4 or 5 of the matches that we played, a couple practice matches as well, where she would get the fish down at some point and maybe like essentially have a 1/1 and a 2/2 because there's another 1/1 counter with backup or whatever around. And then there'd be a point where the rest of the board would just gum up. Now remember, these fish have unblockable,
Yeah,
so you can kind of consistently peck in, like almost like a Tetsuko, for 1, for 2, for 3, depending on how you feel. And eventually, like, that pressures your life total well enough.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's a good one. I know she mentioned she wanted to stick with Monster Machine packs, but said just before Capenna was taken off the table, she said I wanted to open 1 pack of Capenna, and
Oh yeah.
got that and a couple other useful things I think. So Wesley here is not hitting his lands, so there'll be no Deadly Derision yet, no Hidetsugu and Kairi, which he just drew. Um, his option for this turn is basically Nezumi Informant here.
Yeah. So this is going to be an awesome play for Maranda.
Avatar.
She's going to play the pets, which allows her to hold up negate. And Wesley knows about this. So maybe he trades off negate for negate, which is perfectly fine. But she drew a cut short for her turn. So when this pet's resolved, she's still going to be able to cut short and convoke out, holding up the negate still in order to kill off the 3/3.
Yeah, notably, cut short is like one of her main ways of removal. When I saw her deck earlier, she had 3 of those, which can combo well with. She has 2 Bola Slingers, so it's a nice little combo you can assemble. But yeah, that's like blue white has a hard time getting things off the board, basically traditionally and limited, and that's kind of her removal that she has access to.
Yeah.
But if you're a tempo deck and you are initiating your opponent to attack by just having unblockables or flyings and like they attack you back, that's where the cut short becomes good. So she's gonna negate the negate, and she's gonna be allowed to have her pets here. Animal control try to intervene, and
and I mean, this is a very reasonable sort of thought as like, do you even cut short here, right? Do you want to save that cut short for something more powerful as it coming through? Now, we know there's a Hidetsugu on the other on side of the field, so a single land allows for the Deadly Derision, which therefore then ramps up to the Hidetsugu. But I mean, obviously she doesn't know that, so she needs to kind of decide, is this 3/3 a big enough deal?
Yeah, what's her other card left there?
Tranquil Cove, so nothing exciting.
Yeah, so it's kind of like she has the board, but Wesley has the cards in hand, and he just needs the mana to try and catch up. But these fish are going to start doing work. He may even have to Deadly Derision one of them as the game proceeds. But
the 3/3 is significantly. Oh, the 3/3. Kind of like doing the 2/2 because otherwise he doesn't have anything else to do there. But a huge draw. Invasion of New Capenna.
Or the Phyrexia,
no,
right?
Excuse me, New Phyrexia. Yeah, the blue-white one.
Yeah, that's a
holy cow.
Yeah, that's if you're just sitting on a bunch of lands, that is that qualifies as something to do.
Yeah, I find it interesting that she elected to just go for the attacks first, because obviously having 3 damage that's unblockable means that you can kind of flip the invasion within 2 turns.
All right, so
now it's going to be 2 additional turns.
It's Deadly Derision, but he's just so far behind on board here that just any one thing is not going to cut it here. I mean, he could Deadly Derision and then drop his Hidetsugu and Kairi, but these knights are already going to be pumped by the Teferi by then, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in theory, you're going to be Deadly Derisioning the 3/3, which therefore allows you to kind of block and jump the 2/2s on board. But in a Nephara's Dispersal, looks like we're going to be using it aggressively on the 3/3 to Wesley's board. Absolutely. Miranda's sensing some weakness here.
Just get in the pressure. Might not even probably just going to be attacking life total here. Kills faster than
I kind of like that too. Yeah. Now the best part about this is obviously the kill spell, but a silver lining on top of an even better Golden Cloud is the idea that the Nephara's Dispersal just hit 2 planes off the top of the deck.
If you have 7 creatures and your opponent has 1, you're just going to win faster by attacking them than attacking a battle. Almost
assuredly.
When it's close, when your opponent has more board presence, you can't kill them quickly. Then you do this. So he's probably going to have to fire off this Deadly Derision and doesn't really have another choice. I mean, he could unseal the Necropolis, but he needs to take less damage this turn. Yeah, the Invasion of New Phyrexia was that was my first pick in the second draft of the Arena Open this past weekend, and
oh man,
there was a game where I was able to cast it for X = 18 because I had the Invasion of Segovia flipped over.
Oh my gosh, double up all your tokens and things? That gets wild.
I did lose that game though, but
sounds good. Like, it sounds exactly where you want to be though. Yeah, the value has been accrued.
Yeah, I ended up splashing that in my otherwise blue-black deck, but
Mm.
definitely worthy, splash worthy.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Deadly Derision's the big creature, but I mean, it's just quite dead here. Hitotsugu and Kairi will not save him.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, you're gonna need
He needs a
at
board wipe.
least a -2/-2. We know there's one in the format. However, that's not necessarily played often in main
He's
decks.
got a preening champion and a Nezumian format, which is 3 bodies, which is just it is enough. I mean, it's
Hmm.
still a losing position. It's a trade in 2 chumps, but you know he gets at least stay alive. He
I
gets
mean, I think
a
in
little bit
that
of
case,
information with the informant.
what you might be doing is even like double blocking and trying to draw something else,
Yeah, as we
right? So that
discussed
way you just
earlier,
continue to trade.
staying alive is objectively better than dying, but this is not a plan for success here. It's
No,
just stay alive. I mean, we haven't seen the contents of his whole deck, so maybe he does have something that could swing the game here. But usually those cards are going to cost more than 4 mana. The cards that can bring you back from this type of board state.
the fall of Lord Conda.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's
Yeah, likely not going to see it in this game, but something to look out for in probably game 2. I'd guess.
that's a clean answer to Hitotsugu if there ever was one.
I was say, do you have you put your trivia glasses on? Do you remember all 3
Oh
Conda?
well, the first one is you exile something with 4 mana cost.
Yeah.
Second one is you gain control of stuff, something like that. I don't even know.
She hasn't had an opportunity to highlight it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and cheat and look it up on the internet. Fall of Lord
I think one of
Conda.
them is you gain control of everything you own.
The classic, yes, absolutely. So, Fall of Lord Conda has 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Exile something, mana value 4 or greater. Each player gains control of all permanents they control, and then, of course, flip it.
It's a 1/3 with defender that draws a card when it dies. Something
Draws a
like
card
that.
when it dies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we
So
see
it
the
looks to be
game.
just a 3 mana removal spell.
Yeah. I mean, the little defender it makes is not nothing. So, looking at Wesley's deck here, classic blue black, just good uncommons, triple strobe knight, double halo forger, has 2 cryptomancers as well. But he's gone for a bit of a leaner curve than maybe some of the blue black decks. He only has 1 creature above 3 mana in his deck actually, which
Oh
is
wow.
Hitotsugu and Kairi. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so he's
How many
gone
lands is
really
he
low
playing?
curve. He's still on 25 lands, but he's gone super low curve. He just wants to flood the board with creatures, make use of his Transcendent message, which is the X and 4 blue draw spell.
Mm-hmm.
He has an Artistic Refusal. Dollhouse of Horrors is a fun one.
Oh
Also,
yeah, that's
up
a
at the
great
top of
one.
the
Love
curve.
that card.
But yeah, he's gone really low curve with his creatures here. Like I said, all of his creatures are 1, 2, or 3 mana except for Hitotsugu. So he's looking to get stuff on board early,
Yeah.
leverage some of his removal. He has Deadly Derision, Pylon, and some cheap interaction, and just win with these these strobe knights and these halo forgers, just these flyers that can just swing the game in his advantage.
Miranda's looking to do a lot of the same in her blue-white deck, where she's got almost primarily all. As we get up a little bit higher on the curve, we mentioned an Elish Norn and a Boonbringer Valkyrie. Those are obviously some major big hits. We do see 2 Bola Slingers. We can watch out for those. But then also we see the very powerful C double and Halo Charge Scob loop that we kind of mentioned as well. A couple of big Convoker Island Cyclers just in case at the top. But what I've really noticed here is there's a lot of convoking out of blue-white, which is not something we normally would see. But with Knights having vigilance, Sigiled Sentinel having vigilance, there's that kind of stuff just really starts to work out. The main switch that we're seeing her here do is the Order of the Mirror. 2 of those out. Don't want them. Give you some Alabaster Host Sanctifiers, the 2/2 lifelinks. Looks like she thinks that there's going to be a race going on, and that lifelink is going to be very important.
Well, she's a bunch of dorky little, Ichor Drinker and little tokens. So she said, I don't need 2/1s, I need 2/2s.
Hiding out below the camera here, as she removed a couple of 3-drops, we see Aluris of not a companion in this deck, because we obviously have some big stuff on the top end, like Elish Norn we want to play, but a very powerful main deck card that we've obviously seen in the past be extremely game defining.
We've seen people play it main deck. We've seen people companion it. It's it's ban worthy in multiple constructed formats
Oh
for a
yeah.
reason.
Mm-hmm.
Card is excellent, really, really strong one. And I mean, C double, you don't have to loop it to make it good, right? Like this is like just about the best clone we might have ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Usually, clone is a 4 mana creature that you have to cast on your turn, and here this is instant speed. It has an additional effect. Like it is very pushed for a clone. That's for sure.
I do love how fun and fancy it can be. I mean, there's been some crazy plays we've heard of specifically with C double. I know I personally had the opportunity to do like the entwine where you get both of them and copy an Atali while on the stack, which allowed me also to copy a Halo Forager on the battlefield and use an Assimilate Essence in my yard to counter my opponent's Atali
I was
and
watching
sort of
that. Yeah,
spelljack the whole thing. Oh, you had a chance to see that game?
I was
Ah, it's
watching
the
that.
best play I think I've ever made. It was so fun.
Ever
So
okay? I
it's
can believe that.
it was a fancy play that worked out really well.
Pretty satisfying. Yeah. All right, so a bit of a slow hand here for Wesley. Halo Forager, Hitotsugu Kairi, Artistic Refusal, and lands. Looks like a keep. Oh, no, he's
Yeah,
gonna
Miranda
mulligan.
also.
He's gonna
Oh,
mulligan.
okay. Miranda also, I think, has a keep here. 2 planes, no islands, but a title terror. We see that Alabaster Host Sanctifier, the lifelink, and then also Meeting of Minds and cut short a couple of convoke spells, but our Luris, I think, is the one of the main reasons you want to keep this. You got both colors of mana, a Luris, a draw spell, a kill spell. I mean, what else could you really want? How about Invasion of New Phyrexia? So, is that something
And
you want to add on the
Wesley's
first
got a
draw?
Halo Forager and lands, and a card you don't see too often. It's called Ashnod's Intervention from Brothers War. So
Okay,
it's
I did not play Brothers War, so you're going to have to tell me.
it is a black 1 mana instant. It says target creature gets +2/+0, and if it would die or be put into exile this turn, you get it back to your hand.
Oh, okay.
So it was sort of a way to get around Unearth. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
the trick. Your Unearth guy, instead of going to exile, it comes back into your hand. But it's
Very good.
significantly worse than the usual versions of this, which is returns it to the battlefield. That's one we've seen.
Yeah.
We see black usually get that trick for 1 or 2 mana. So this is quite a bit worse because it only goes back to your hand, but it does. It was meant to work with Unearth, but
Notably, it works pretty well with the Halo Forger here because a lot of the times when you've already played your trick, you don't always have mana to be flashing back another spell. And if the Halo Forger comes back to your hand, well, then you have an opportunity to play it when you want. The hits keep on coming from Miranda as Elish Norn, populates off the top of the deck, and so now seeing these big spells that we want to be casting, this gives her an opportunity to either cast the Meeting of the Minds, which I think is why she didn't attack, or if for whatever reason she wanted to cycle the Title Terror to make sure she hits our land 4, she could do that as well.
yeah. So Wesley drew a pylon, but he's gonna have to really draw some impactful stuff here in order to keep up because he's in danger of falling behind. I saw the first hand; it looked like a keep to me. I mean, it's not ideal, obviously, but
Yeah.
with the amount of 2 drops and 1 drops in his deck, he figured I can mulligan and go for something better. But he had Halo Forger, he had Hitsugu and Kairi, which is just about his best card, if not up there. And
I'm wondering if
Artistic
maybe
Refusal, so
he might think that he's not winning the long game, a bit more power, or at least think that she does. And so therefore he's thinking he has to go underneath. Now, obviously the hand that he's got right now isn't doing it because he didn't even attack with a Halo Forager last turn.
and he's like, I wonder why the no attacks or blocks.
I think the no attack was when Miranda was holding up some mana. He didn't want to run it into a cut short. So now he might be a little bit more inclined to attack. But no pylon at the end of turn on the Elishnorn seems a little strange to me as well.
Just pile on because he does need the surveil like very, very badly. He did draw a Deadly Derision off the top, so pretty useful. But now this removal just looks a lot worse in the face of all the open mana. We know white and blue can do many things to stop this. Okay, so he's gonna try and do the Ashnod's Intervention here.
Okay.
Rather than, and I guess if Miranda has a response, he can just pile on instead, or Deadly Derision.
Yeah, but this is going to work out.
Okay.
I think it's a very reasonable sort of action. It kind of turns his Ashnod's Altar, which in general is probably not that valuable of a spell. It's like a card draw spell, a cycle or whatever. But now it's kill your thing and cycle, right?
I think what he's trying to do is be able to cast Halo Forger and Pylon. Like be able to pile on something and then cast the Halo Forager and pile on something else.
Well, one of the things to note is that even though Pylon has Convoke, you're not actually casting the spell. You're paying mana and allowing to cast something for free. So you're going to need a total of 7 do that with your Halo Forager.
Yeah, well, he has Deadly Derision in hand, so maybe that could speed it up because he could Deadly
Mm-hmm.
Derision get a token. Yeah, I don't love the paying 1 mana here for the Elish Nord trigger, especially with a 4 mana removal in hand. I think you can take 2
Yeah,
life there and just kill this
I agree.
Lurrus.
I agree. Now, obviously, we didn't know Luris was coming down, but you kind of got the sense that something was coming, right?
Yeah, you assume there's something there. So he's just going to pile on. It looks like he's going to pile on the Lurrus, and then he's going to set up for next turn being able to Halo Forager and cast a removal spell. I think that he identified that's what I need to do in order to get back in this game. I need to leverage this Halo Forager, especially being able to get it back into hand, which in this case is actually better than just putting it right back on the battlefield. So,
Yeah.
we said Ashwell's Intervention a lot more narrow than the usual black instant that puts a creature back, but in this case, it's actually a desirable effect to have it in hand rather than on the
Yeah, it's the
battlefield.
niche where that's really important. Unfortunately for Wesley, like the one card I can think of in Miranda's deck that is really strong against this 1-for-1 value removal spell is this Invasion of New Phyrexia, which we're staring at. And as she's like continuing to island cycle, she can drop her second title terror that she's gotten, or she can even cycle that one as well. And we're just going to kind of see her continuously wear down his resources with some of these spells, because a title terror is a must kill threat, just like this Luris is. And once everything's down, here comes 8 or 6 or 4 or whatever tutus, and deal with all of those.
And notably, if the invasion ever goes in the graveyard, you can actually, I believe, cast it with Loris. You won't get any tokens, but you'll get to put
That's
it back
correct.
on the battlefield. I mean, you
Yeah,
can
as
attack
it moves from
if you have something to attack it with, you can.
as it moves from the battlefield onto the stack, it has to be converted mana cost 2 or less, so that X does have to be 0.
Yeah.
But just a free battle that you could flip over into a free planeswalker. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So now he's enacting his sort of his long plan here, which is to leverage this Halo Forager's ability and kill a creature with it and get to keep surveilling. So, if there wasn't a make X tutus in Miranda's hand, I would say he's fighting his way back into this.
Yeah,
He sees a couple
and then of course
top. He might just have to keep them. He sees
what
Timuret and Bloated Processor.
the hits keep on coming for Miranda. Not an extremely expensive card or really powerful, but Marshal of Zelfir obviously makes all the knights from the Invasion of New Phyrexia extremely powerful.
Yeah, her deck is just very synergistic. Just like I said, working on all cylinders right now. One was 5-1 last week. Only loss was to Wesley. 2-0 already tonight. So
Yeah,
7-1, just storming her way up into the top 8, coming from kind of coming from nowhere in the last couple of weeks. But
if I remember correctly, she was saying how she kind of sat at 9th place for a long time because she was chasing the top 8. However, there was a bunch of people who continued to keep pace with her. But as soon as one person slipped, I mean, she really sort of took advantage of that.
Yeah, now she finds herself at 20 wins, which is almost very close to locking up a top 8 here. Mm-hmm. But and Wesley, probably sees the writing on the wall here. He's at 12 life, facing down what's about to be 3 3s. I mean, the Deadly Derision can take care of the Marshal of Zalfir, but again, 1-for-1 removal just can never work against what this Invasion of New Phyrexia. You need a board wipe. That's about it. There's basically no other way to stop it if you're behind her. Even if you're at parity, it's like usually just going to take over.
Yeah. That's one of the things about, I mean, this mythic, it's a mythic rare, isn't it? The Invasion of New Phyrexia. It will bring you back into a game if you're behind. At parity, it will put you far ahead. And if you already are ahead, it will slam the door so fast.
Yeah, there was a card pretty reminiscent in War of the Spark. It was almost the exact same. It was a sorcery for X white. You make X tutus, and if X is 10, you also get 10 for angels if you have 12 mana. But
yeah, of
the
course.
point was you get a bunch of tutus for X white. So basically almost the same cost.
It looks like the hits are gonna keep on coming. I think 6 draw steps at the top of Miranda's deck.
Yeah, this is lethal here with the Cryptomancer at the exact right moment. So Wesley did all he could. He fought as hard as he could, but this deck of Miranda's is just a juggernaut. This is just a very, very unstoppable machine at this point. So good luck to whoever faces off against her for the rest of the week. And congratulations to Maranda moving towards the top 8. And Wesley, in his first league, bows out here in the feature match, which is just about the best way you can go out, honestly. So thanks to both players, and that's a wrap for March of the Machine feature matches. So thanks to Bob and the other commentators that were joining me here, and we'll see you back for top 8.